Hello, Principles of Management students. Catherine Robertson back here. It is Monday night, 11:21, and I am coming to you in this cold weather. I realize my video is a little bit late this week. Hopefully you were able to access the homework, access the assignments, and whatnot. I'm going to go over those here briefly. The one key thing this week is that you will have until Sunday, 11:59 p.m. instead of the normal Friday to turn in your work for week 5. I will be putting new homework or new work up on Saturday just to keep us on track as usual. So you'll have that kicking in on Saturday, which will be due then the following Friday, but you have extra time for week 5's homework. All right, hopefully all of you are staying warm. I know I have been a little bit under the weather with it being so cold, but and you're celebrating Thanksgiving somewhere, hopefully, or just staying warm. We celebrated some things this past weekend, and so I may just stay warm on Thursday. All right, so whatever you're doing, I hope you're having a wonderful week. This week we are doing chapters 11 and 12, and if you look on Blackboard, you will see under week 5, you will see the list of items that we are working on for this week, which is read chapters 11 and 12 in the text, and I will talk about those in a minute. Review the PowerPoints for each chapter. I do have a video link up coordinating with chapter 12 on diversity. There is a week 5 homework, so there are questions from both 11 and 12 there. Again, you can complete those in short answer bullets, however you like. I've been getting all sorts of different ways that students have been completing those, and really they are just a review for you, and there'll be a review for you for the final, so that if you read through the material, you look through the important parts of the homework. And I realize this is an intense class. There's a lot of reading. We cover a lot of topics. There's a decent amount of homework, and typically it's been offered in the 16-week format, and so condensing it into the 8-week is just a lot on your end, right? So anyway, so complete week 5 homework. I'm reading up Blackboard for you. And then 5th, we do have a discussion post this week. So I am going to talk a little bit about 11 and 12. Let's see. Do I not have both of those up there? Oh, yes, it's down here at the bottom. How did it get down there at the bottom? So there should be a PowerPoint for each. There we go. Okay, so again, if you have trouble clicking on the PowerPoint, sometimes what you have to do is go all the way over to the 3 little dots, click on it, and it will say edit, delete, download, and just click download, and it'll pop up in the bottom as a downloaded item, bottom left of your screen, and then you can click on that. For some reason, sometimes it loads so you can just open it. Other times it doesn't, and it's tricky. If you're having additional issues, let me know. Always reach out. And some of you have done that, and so I was able to chime in for you there. There's a video for 12. So let's talk about 11 first. 11 is human resource management. And there are 6 sections to chapter 11. We see a quick introduction to what human resource management is. Some of you may work in human resources, or you've been in contact with a company's maybe you work for a company and you talk to the different folks in human resources. And how has it evolved, and what does it add to an organization? Definitely depends on the size as well. A large organization needs a whole department, right? You may only have one human resource person at a smaller organization. And a really small business may not have, somebody else might be doing that as their part-time job. All right, so the next section, 11.2, human resource management and compliance. And depending on the industry, you're going to have different levels of compliance, right? If you work for a company that maybe runs some factories, the factories, depending on what they do, will have compliance that they need to be in line with, right? Federal standards, maybe state standards, local standards. If you're doing any type of building, any type of retrofitting, if you have, depending on what employees do, if you have a store that maybe is just a retail store, there isn't a lot of danger. There's some danger always that employees could get involved in. If you work somewhere where where employees are working with heavy machinery or different things, there's all sorts of levels of safety, right? If you're working with chemicals, there's different ways to handle things. So compliance, depending on where you're working. can be a small portion of what the human resources does or a very large portion. All right, 11.3, performance management. How does the human resources department help out with, overall company performance? And also, how does human resources, how do they identify those folks that are underperforming and those folks that are, really overachieving? And how do we either encourage those that are underperforming and also, cheer on those that are really doing a great job? So that's part of human resources. And human resources department typically has in charge of compensation. Their human resources is typically in charge of anything relating to insurance, right? Medical insurance, things like that. Any type of sick leave, any of those things is all part of human resources. 11.4, influencing employee performance and motivation. What kind of strategies do we use to reward our employees, and how do we motivate them? 11.5, how do we craft as a human resource department? How do we, as a human resource department, or how do they, really kind of mold the company to move in a successful fashion into the future, right? So that's 11.5. And then 11.6, how do you acquire good talent, right? And some companies do a really great job at screening, right? There have been many books written for companies talking about how they acquire great talent, right? Well, obviously they pay them well, but there's other ways to look for, will they be a good fit for your organization? One example is Google. They have very specific hiring for Googlers, right? Specific hiring tactics. All right. There is a short video here for you relating to chapter 12. So I will get to chapter 12 next. Chapter 12, diversity in organizations. So chapter 12 really talks about tapping into the diverse backgrounds of the individuals that you work with, right? And sometimes we find it hard to relate to certain folks that we work with, but really, or in reality, having multiple different opinions about something is actually a wonderful way to critique different items or critique things that are happening within an organization, and also to find different opinions about what might be successful in a marketplace, right? So tapping into and embracing diverse backgrounds, whether it's, related to age, ethnicity, culture, sex, men and women, right? Folks from all over the world. So just thinking about, that have different perspectives, people that are from, we live here in Erie, Pennsylvania, but people that are from Ohio or Michigan or New York even have different opinions than we do. Us in our class, we have different opinions about things. So you can imagine if you have an extremely diverse group of folks working for you, all the different opinions and different ideas that are coming together. All right, so 12.1, you have 7 sections in chapter 12. 12.1 starts to talk a little bit about and define what diversity is. And 12.2 then goes a little bit further to talk about how diversity benefits the workforce and the workplace. 12.3 starts to talk about the impact it can have, right? The embracing of and acknowledging diversity within your organization. 12.4 talks a little bit about some of the challenges that you might run into while trying to embrace diversity, right? What might be some of the barriers? There's always things like language barriers. And when we talk about age, we talk a lot about like technology barriers, right? If you have someone that's coming into an organization and they're 22 and you have someone else they've used technology their whole life, and you have someone else that's maybe 65 and they're still at the organization, and they may know a lot about the organization, but they may not be technologically savvy. And so sometimes they just don't talk that well, right? That is a huge pitfall that we see these days. Let's see, 12.5, what are some diversity theories? So we'll touch on those. 12.6 goes back into talking about how managers can reap benefits from diversity and mitigate, right? Kind of squash out some of the challenges, right? Embrace the good parts and kind of eliminate as many challenges as possible. And last but not least, some recommendations that the text offers about how to manage diversity, right? Folks that have different viewpoints within your organization. All right, so that's chapter 12. The video that I have for you that goes along with chapter 12, how to get serious about diversity and inclusion in the workplace. So that is, I think, about a 10-minute video, YouTube video. If you'd like to take a peek at that is another component of this week. There are some review questions. Again, you don't have to answer in large paragraph form, but from chapters 11 and 12, they are there week 5. And then last but not least, we have a short discussion this week. And so the discussion comes from chapter 12, provide a concrete example of how different perspectives stemming from diversity can positively impact an organization or work group. You may use a real life example or make one up. So for this discussion, you don't have to give me, 5 paragraphs. I'm really just looking for an example of either something that you encountered at work, right? Or maybe in a volunteer position. It doesn't have to necessarily be a paid position. You can either use that, or you can make something up, something you've seen, something you could imagine happening, maybe something you saw in a movie or in a TV show about how folks that had different opinions or different backgrounds or just a diverse group, how they actually came up with ideas that were positive and they had a positive impact. Whereas had they been all the same, right, like with the same background and the same idea, they would not have elevated the company into, they may not have positively impacted the organization like they did because they had differing opinions, right, or differing backgrounds. So that is chapters 11 and 12, and that are due for this week. Again, week 5 is not due until Sunday. Because of the holiday, even though I'll be posting week 6 on Saturday. Now, I know a few of you are a little bit, you're still catching up. Even if you turn something in late, say you have week 4, week 3, you still get quite a bit of credit for turning in something late. So if there's something that you've missed, please go back and try and catch up or be caught, or get yourself caught up. When it comes to discussion, those are percentage points. When you do not turn in a homework, there's 6 percentage points right there that you miss, right? Say you turn in a week late, you may get 5 out of 6 points. You get most of the points, right? So you turn it in a couple weeks late, you still get a decent amount of points, 4 or 5 points. And the other thing is the discussions. Make sure you're completing those. Even if some folks write very lengthy, beautiful discussions. Even if you get some points on the board. So those of you that are missing items, I will get week 4 stuff finished up now that I see most of week 4 has trickled in. I'm still getting a few more week 4s in. And we are into we're into week 5. So Saturday starts week 6. I mean, we're most of the way, we're 3/4 of the way through the course. And so then we have week 6 and week 7 with new material. And week 8 is really going to be review, talking, having you finish up your project, which is your PowerPoint of a chapter, your favorite chapter that you are going to work on. And we're really kind of rounding out the course. So I just want to make sure that you are hanging in there. If for some reason you are seeing this and you are really struggling, please reach out to me. You have until, I believe, the 30th, but really by the end of this week, you should reach out if you need to withdraw. You'll still have a W on your transcript, but you won't have an F. After this week, you can't even withdraw, right? If you are too far behind, you will have to take an F, right? If you can't get caught up by the end of the term. So if you feel like you're really behind and you're struggling, we do offer the course. I believe it's being offered next semester as well. We offer it regularly. So if you feel like you're really behind and you're not going to be able to get caught up for whatever reason, right? Life happens. Make sure that you reach out to myself. You reach out to Andrea, Clarissa. You let somebody know that you're struggling and that you'd like to withdraw. I believe you need to do that by the 30th, but I would say do that by the end of this week or as soon as possible, because you want to make sure that you don't negatively impact your GPA. As always, if you have questions for me, you can reach out, shoot me a text, 814-490-6473, or email me, crobertson@ec3pa.org. Keep working hard. We're in the home stretch, right? And again, if you have anything late, just keep turning in late work and you can get some points on the board. I will try to get caught up with all of week 4 and any late homework that I've received from 3, 2, or 1, late discussions, things like that. Have a wonderful week, and I will circle back around with you probably Friday. Just a quick reminder that you have a few extra days this week. I know it's Black Friday and you all be out shopping, right? And all the stores are that they'll finally be in the black, right, for the year. They've operated in the red the entire year, and Friday will be the day. Anyway, I will reach out, and then Saturday is a new week. Saturday begins week 6. But just keep chugging along this week. There are a few extra days because of the holiday. And again, if you have any issues, reach out to me.